Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday. All of you are amazing. My favorite humans are here in the chat on Behance. I hope you're all doing well. My name's Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and welcome to the official day number 1 of the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. If you are joining me live on Behance, let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. I'm streaming now, right now, live from, I think, sunny Los Angeles. Next week I'll be in, hopefully sunny, it better be sunny, San Francisco. And a big good morning to Michael Crabtree, one of our awesome Adobe Live guests, who, by the way, spilled water all over our desk. It was a good time. Tim, our awesome moderator, Emma and Kelsey, or Keely, I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. We have a lot of people in here. Bruno, and I saw Ruth in there, and Andy's in here. And a lot of people were wondering if this is live. It's either live or it's powered by some crazy Adobe Sensei technology that, is automatically procedurally generating this live stream as we go based on the chat. So you never know. Technology's getting weird. It's getting pretty strange. I saw this morning NVIDIA release some crazy AI technology that basically creates scenes based on drawings. It's very strange stuff. But anyways, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing great on this magical Tuesday morning, kicking off the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge day number 1. And if I hop over here to my screen, this is our landing page, behance.net/daily creative challenge. We got people from all over the place: Atlanta and Indonesia, Washington, Morocco, India, Brooklyn. I love this. I love seeing people from all over the world. For some of you, it's late at night. For some of you, it's early in the morning. It's right now 8:32 in the morning. But yeah, some of you are very dedicated. I love that. So here's the landing page. And there's a few things to take note of on this landing page. Hit that big blue register button if you haven't done that yet. That way you get a notification when we release a new challenge every single morning at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. So Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, 8 o'clock in the morning. If you're on the East Coast, it's 11 o'clock. And if you're somewhere else, I don't know. Do the math. I'm not good at that. But yeah, 8 o'clock every morning, you're going to get a challenge. And then 8:30 in the morning, you're going to be joining me bright and early, or maybe late, to kick off that day's challenge. And then you're going to use Adobe XD to design and prototype whatever that challenge is, making sure to use the keyword XD Daily Challenge when you publish on Behance. That way we can hop into Behance, search for your amazing stuff, and then every single day we try to showcase a few of the really creative ones that have come out over the last day or so. And then you have until March 29th to complete and finish all 9 challenges. But like I've mentioned in the past, this isn't really a competition. You're not winning anything, but the only thing you're winning is a better portfolio, better skills, possibly even new skills. So a lot of people here I've seen over the last few days who have never used Adobe XD before. So this is a chance to really learn something new, build up your portfolio as a designer. So if you need a few extra days after March 29th, take a few extra days, polish that portfolio up, get it up on Behance. We're always looking at the stuff even after the challenges are over. And good morning to everyone who's just joining. I love seeing regulars. I love seeing new people. Awesome times. It's early. I can't talk. If you haven't yet, grabbed XD for free and then join us on Slack. This is crazy. Let me hop over to Slack for a second. Here's our introduction section. If you remember yesterday, if you were here, I mentioned that we had 14,000, it was like 300 and some odd people yesterday. And I thought it'd be crazy if we got to 15,000. We're now at 16,000 people. That's insane. So, introduce yourself, hop into the design feedback section, especially as you're starting to design some of these elements that we're going to be building out over the next 2 weeks, and ask for feedback on specific areas of your design. And then once you receive feedback, definitely hop in there and give someone else feedback so that, they can start improving their stuff. If you have questions or you want to chat, and then there's announcements. So if you can see each day's daily challenge, all that fun stuff. So what do we have planned for today? Well, the first challenge is to design a navigation bar. And we're kind of bouncing off what we did last time in that we're doing a 2-week challenge. It's kind of all connected, so it's a progressive challenge. And the goal of this challenge is to design a pet store landing page or even just a website. And we're going to kind of solve problems. So the first problem today is that users land on a landing page kind of like this one here. And they look at the top and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of navbar items. You don't really know that you can hover over top of these to get to some additional items. There's no cart icon, there's no search. It's not really laid out very properly. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, you know, building another navigation bar, kind of better experience, hopefully. And we're going to be bouncing off some of the existing ones that exist on the web. And I'll show you those in a second. So definitely download the template and we're going to get started. Before I do that, go over to Twitter, follow Andrew Shorten. He's our Senior Director of Product Management. He posted this yesterday and he loves doing sneaks about upcoming features in Adobe XD. And we have some really cool stuff. I wish I could talk about it, but we have some cool stuff coming up in a not too distant future, and he may be sneaking some of that. So go give him a follow, and you know, some stuff might be coming out soon. All right, so hopping over to Adobe XD, here is the landing page, or the template, that you're gonna be getting. And this was created by the amazing Marissa Blair, who might be in the chat, she might be in Slack, but she put together this amazing template that you're gonna be using over the next 2 weeks. And there's a lot, I'm not going to go over everything, but there's a lot of stuff in this template, from character styles to colors to icons to buttons to forms. And today we're going to be keeping things very simple. We're going to be doing a little navigation bar, very simple at the top. And here's some inspiration. So Chewy is a great website I go to very often because I do have a dog. And it's a very simple website. It shows the products. The navigation bar isn't overcrowded. And then something like Petco, very similar. A lot of these top websites are very similar. And, you know, starting off very simple, we may look at this color palette and we may want to use some of these color schemes throughout our project. And one of the cool things about Adobe XD is the assets panel. And you can very easily add colors, character styles, or symbols directly to your assets. So let's say I'm really digging this bounce theme at the bottom. I can just very simply select all of these colors, and then in my assets panel, just press the plus button beside colors. It's going to automatically add those colors to my assets panel. I can use any of these for my navigation bar if I wanted to. I can do the same thing with character styles as well. If I like these ones here, just select these and then add them. Now, and of course you can just go in, you can double click to, let's say, whoops. You can just double click. Let me undo that. There we go. Double click and so that says headline. Again, can't speak today. It's very early. There we go. So you get the idea. You can rearrange them, move them. But let's hop over here to our navigation bar and we're going to get designing because we don't have a lot of time. Right after this, they've got some Photoshop. Jesus Ramirez is up right after this with some cool Photoshop stuff. So there's a few things we're going to tackle in this navigation bar. The first thing, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to select the navigation bar. Here's my layers over here to the left, and I'm just going to drag this down a little bit. I want a nice, a little bit of a thicker navigation bar at the top. There we go. And we might also want these guys up here, these little icons, to be a little bit bigger as well. So I'm going to select all of them, and holding down my Shift key, I'm just going to simply make them a little bit larger. And you're noticing everything is transforming really nicely, just like that. And in the menu bar, Marissa did provide this as a repeat grid. And let me show you how that's done very quickly. If I delete this, I'm going to grab my text tool and type out menu item. There we go. Make the fill to white. And let's go for Sophia Pro. It's a pretty good font. We'll do bold, maybe semi-bold. That looks pretty good. And make it a little bit bigger. Perfect. And now maybe beside it, we might want a down arrow. So if we hop over here to our icons, we have a down arrow. So I'm going to select that, just copy it, hop back over here. And again, thank you, Marissa, for providing all these amazing icons and colors and character styles. They will definitely help a lot throughout this project. I'm going to drag this, and because it is a vector icon, I can simply make it white, make it a little bit bigger if I wanted to, and just pop it into place. Perfect. So now that we have one object in our repeat grid, we want to, or not grid yet, but in our navigation bar, we might want to have several of them going across our document. So I'm going to select both of them with my Shift key held down. Select the menu item. Whoops, I missed it. Menu item. There we go. I should probably move this in here. There we go. Menu item and the down arrow, and either I can press the repeat grid button over to the right or Command or Control R. Boop. And we now have a repeat grid, and this will allow us to just drag out additional menu items Let's say I want 4 going across. There we go. I got 4 now. Then I can hover in between and just increase the size of the spacing. Somewhere right around there. And I'm not going to worry too much about the spacing and dimensions and the 8-point grid and things like that because we don't have a lot of time. So there we go. So now we have our menu items set up. I'm actually going to break this repeat grid because I do want to override this first one. And I might not want down arrows in all of these items. So I'm going to just right click and ungroup the grid. Perfect. Now this one here, I kind of want to bounce off of what Chewy was doing where the first item is a little bit larger. So we have shop by pet, shop by brand, pharmacy, and today's deals. And the first one is a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just select all these and just make them a little bit bigger. Just like that. I can move it back over. Maybe move these over. And you're noticing as I'm dragging things around, the smart guides are kind of letting me know that things are nicely aligned. Perfect. All right, so we got that. Maybe might not want this and we might not want this. Perfect. All right, so now that we got the basic structure of our navigation bar, let's start adding some color. So if I select the navigation bar background and hop over to my assets panel, I have this color right here that I saved just a few moments ago, and I can simply click on that, and now I have a nice blue navigation bar. And if I wanted to do the same for some of the icons or the down arrows, I can just start clicking on any of these colors. Of course, none of these really mix well with the blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to choose a different color. Let's say a nice yellow, just like that. And I can make sure to add this to my assets panel so that if I'm over here, I can very easily just press on it. And there we go. And Tarun is saying, any idea with the padding from the left? I'm not sure exactly what that means, but if I hold down my Alt or Option key, you can kind of see that those guides are telling me that's 108.4 pixels from the left. Not ideal, but if I had more time, I would definitely, make some changes. So a few more things we want to add to this navigation bar is a logo and a search field. So I'm going to hop over to Nucleo. And because I have a bias towards dogs and I love dogs and dogs are the best, I'm going to drag in a little dog icon straight into my navigation bar. There we go. I'm going to pop this here, make it a little bit larger, and change the color to white. And everything is lining up. Again, those smart guides are letting me know that this is lined up to the left side of my navigation bar, the links, and the top of the links at the top right. Perfect. Next, we're going to create a little search bar. So I'm going to simply just drag one out, just like this. Doesn't have to be too long. Okay, it's kind of long, but it'll do. And I want to round out the corners just a little bit. So if I zoom in here, you notice there's these little dots on the inside of the shape. And I can just drag it just like this. I can make it super rounded, or I can just make it subtly rounded. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, Michael, cats are not better than dogs. Let me know if you like super rounded or you like straight or just like a little bit rounded, but I'll leave it at this for now. I'll take off the border because you probably don't need it on the blue background. And then back over to my icons, I'm going to grab the search icon. Hop back over here and simply paste. Make sure it's inside of my navigation bar. Move this over. Definitely want to make this bigger and pop it right about there. And now I'm just going to apply. We have some medium round, straight, rounded. You're no help. I like round. It looks kind of fun. It looks kind of exciting. I'm just going to leave it for now, but I definitely encourage you to get creative with your navigation bars and all of your designs. And for here, I can't see my text. There we go. I'm just going to write out, let's say, spoil, whoops. Helps if I select my text. Spoil your pet. And we don't want this bold. Let's go for regular. Beautiful. All right. So now our search bar is done. I do want to make sure to hop into my layers panel and make sure to select all of these objects and just group them. Command and Control G, and this will be search. Just make sure your layers panel and all your layers are nicely up to date. And this could be logo. All right. So now that things are looking pretty good on the navigation bar, there's one more item that we want to tackle, and it's going to be a very basic one, but I encourage you to get crazy with it. Is on the Chewy website. Actually, if I go, there's basically this drop down here that lets you filter by pet, and this will be sort by pet, right? So we're going to create basically right above this navigation bar, another drop down right here that will allow us to sort by pet and see different products in each section. So I'm going to do that. I do want to make sure it's nice and flush with the top, but I want the corners to be a little bit rounded at the bottom. Now, if I just do this, they're going to be nicely rounded, right? But the top ones are also rounded, which I don't want. So in my properties inspector, I can press this right here, and it'll allow me to adjust the corner radius of individual corners. So this one is going to be 0, and this one is going to be 0 as well. And that will allow me to have nice flush edges on the top, but rounded corners on the bottom. I'll give it a very subtle shadow. I don't want to go too crazy with the shadow. Let's go 15 and 15 maybe, turn off the border. That's not too bad. I would probably argue that should be a little bit less subtle. There we go, perfect, all right. So now that that's done, we need to have some pets. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag out, let's say a circle here, and then right beside it, this will be the pet name. Just like that. Make sure things are aligned really nicely. Probably don't need a border, but I will change the color just so I can see it against the background. Perfect. Now, just like we did with the navigation bar, we're going to create a repeat grid. But before I do that, because some pet names are a little bit longer than others, I'm going to change this into area text and just drag this out just a little bit to give me a little bit of room for some of the longer names. Now, with both these selected, just like we did before, Command and Control R to create a repeat grid, boop, and then drag, let's say, 5 of them down the page. And I can adjust the padding to fit this container. Perfect. And now we need some content. And this is one of the other cool things about Repeat Grid. If I go over to Finder, I have a few pictures of some animals. I also have a text file that we're going to be dragging in. So I'm going to grab all 5 of these, drag them into any one of these circles, and it's going to automatically place them within this Repeat Grid. I can do the exact same thing for text files, drag this in, and it automatically places it. And it's good to note that it does place it in numerical and then alphabetical order, which is why it placed it there. And I have the text file set up exactly the same. So it kind of corresponds to the images. There we go. And if you have to, you can always jump in and make some changes if you want to. But I will keep this at dog, cat, fish, bird, and panda because we all own pandas, right? There we go. So I'm going to put that there. Now maybe over here, I might want the background a little bit darker on this side and then lighter on this side where the products are. So I'm gonna just duplicate this shape in the background, Command and Control D, drag this inwards a little bit, turn off the shadow and make the background just very slightly darker. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. So there we go. And I do wanna make sure that this corner radius down here is also set to 0. So back over here in my properties inspector, this one, 0. Perfect. Now let's say dog, because dogs are the best. Dog is the one that's selected by default. So I'm going to grab one more rectangle and just draw one out. Let's say right about here. Make sure it's behind the repeat grid. And we'll make this one white with no border. And make sure it aligns really nicely. Make it a little bit larger. Perfect. That looks pretty good right there. I might want to bring this in just a touch. It looks good. All right, so now that we have dog selected, I'm noticing that we probably need some arrows pointing to the right to let people know that, you got to go this way, right? That way. So I'm going to go back over to my icons very quickly, find an arrow that's pointing to the right. There's one there. And I want this to be visible on all of my repeat grid elements. So what's cool about repeat grids, you can just hop into a repeat grid at any time and paste an element in there. And move this over and you're noticing it pasted it on all of them. I'm gonna make sure it's nicely aligned. You notice down here, panda's a little bit longer. So I'm gonna move it, make sure it's over to the right. Perfect. There we go. That looks good. All right, so now that we have this, I'm gonna actually make this a little bit longer. Make sure to group all these elements, and this is going to be called Pet Sorter. Great. Maybe make this a little bit longer, and then I can just drag this up. And because responsive resize is turned on, it resizes it really nicely, or I can just grab individual elements, drag it up just a little bit, drag these up, just to kind of finesse this into place so it's looking pretty good. And this is really what designing is all about, just finessing things into place. Perfect. All right, so what have we done so far? Well, we've basically taken this navigation bar, we've added some color to it, and let me show you one cool thing about color. But before I do that, I want to move these down just a little bit because it's bothering me a little bit. Move it down just a touch. Perfect. So this is one of the cool things about working with assets within Adobe XD, is let me go back to my assets panel, and right over here, here's that color that we applied to the navigation bar. We might also want to apply it to something like these little arrows, right? So I'm going to click on that, apply it, and because it's part of a repeat grid, it automatically applies it to all of them. But let's say you're working with a creative director, and that creative director, actually Patricia is saying, can you override the chevron right for the dog so it shows a different color? So not yet. Soon, but not yet. But what you can do is, in this case, you can copy it and then paste one outside of the repeat grid, and then change the color, let's say to yellow. Let me use my eyedropper shortcut. So you can do that for now, but soon you'll be able to, do something like that, and we'll share more about that soon. So yeah, so we have this color kind of spread out amongst our document, but you're working with a creative director, and he or she comes to you and says, you know what, I'm not really digging and yeah, as Cameron says, if you ungroup it, but then you lose the repeat grid. I'm not really digging the blue color. I want something a little bit different. So the cool thing about working with assets is you can just hop into your assets panel, right click on that color and press edit. And then at any point you can just change that color. If you wanted it, let's say red, you can just do that. And it's updating that color throughout your entire document. And you can do the same thing with the yellow. Let's say I want that to white. You can very easily do that. So that's a really cool thing about assets in Adobe XD. The same works for character styles as well. So let's say we really don't like this character style that we used on the menu item. You can simply press on the plus button beside character styles if you have not added it already. You can right click, press edit, and make the change. So let's say you really like Comic Sans. Who doesn't like Comic Sans? You want to use that for your pet store. I don't recommend doing it, but you can do that, and it'll update throughout your entire document in all the same instances. This one did not update because it's a different size, so XD respects that, but you can do that. You can use Comic Sans, you can use crazy gradients if you want to. There you go. The last thing I want to show you is how you start publishing on Behance, and throughout this process we're going to be talking more and more about that. But once your artboard is in a pretty good state and you want to publish it, you're going to go up to the share menu, and then you're going to go down to share for review. This will allow you to publish it publicly so that anyone with the link can see it, or only people who are invited can see it. You can allow comments, show hotspot hints if you don't know. Once we get into prototyping, we'll talk more about that, and show navigation controls. I'll just name this Pet Store and press Create Link. And basically what that's doing is it's uploading all this to lovely Creative Cloud, and then in a second you're going to have these icons at the top. So this one will allow you to copy the embed code if you want to publish it directly on Behance. This will allow you to copy the link, or you can open it directly in a browser. And if I do that, it opened it over here. Let me hop over here, move this over, and here is the published prototype. And you can just scroll down, see all the fun goodness. Now, one more thing I do want to cover very quickly, because I completely forgot, is using overlays with something like this. So let me very quickly do this. I'm going to actually move this element on its separate artboard. So I'm going to copy this, delete it, make a new artboard over here, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow as well because I just skimmed through this. But I'm going to move this into place and then just resize my artboard like this, because you probably don't want that menu showing all the time, right? But you might want it only when someone clicks on sort by pet. So I'm going to click on the sort by pet in prototype mode, drag the handle over to the right. It's going to be a tap trigger because I want them to be able to tap on that sort by pet, and it's going to be an overlay. And this will allow me to choose exactly where I want that menu to be positioned. Let's say right about here. Perfect. And I'll probably just want it to dissolve in. We don't have to worry too much about the easing. We'll do in and out just for the hell of it. And then 0.2 second, want it nice and fast. And now when you play the prototype, you can scroll down, and you can also press sort by pet, and that overlay is going to pop up, and you can also click off of it to hide it. We'll talk more about that over the next week or two. We'll definitely get more into prototyping, but that's going to be it for today. Creating a very simple navigation bar to solve a problem where, it's a little bit too crowded at the top. Your user's a little bit confused. You want to keep it nice and simple, nice and colorful. And I'm really excited to see all of your entries coming in over through Behance. Make sure you use the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And I will see you all bright and early tomorrow morning with day number 2. We're going to continue building on this pet store, and we're going to take a look at some of the entries that have come in. And definitely stick around. We got some great Photoshop stuff coming up right after this stream. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.